The weather today and looking outside and seeing all the snow and people pushing snow with their pickups and stuff reminds me of some times at my grandma Bicketts, or Bickettsville as I came to call it. First, when I was a little kid, and we used to go there during the winter and stuff, and I remember my uncle pulling us around on an old car hood out in the snow and stuff. That was a lot of fun. But the other thing I remember is, I believe it was the Christmas probably of '68, when there was so much snow and stuff that they actually had to scoop all the way from the house to the highway so that we could get in for Christmas, and then again before we left they had to do it again, about 1.5 miles up to Highway 81. Years later, when I was living there at Bickettsville, and my Uncle Tom had now had taken over and was living in the big house, and his family and stuff, and I lived down in the trailer house most of the time with my brother Mike and his family. And I remember Tom had a John Deere G tractor, older tractor, I believe, in 1949 or something like that. Anyway, pretty good sized, big tractor and stuff. And I used to drive it fairly often, do things, go out, and I remember go out in the grove and pull in down trees to be cut for firewood and things like that. But also what I really remembered many times was scooping snow during the winter. And I really learned a lot. But one of the things some of the things that strike me is I still wonder when I think about it in amazement how I actually managed to get up on that tractor by myself, of course, and climb up on the tractor. It's fairly high. The seat probably sat 5 feet off the ground or so. And get up there when it was, 0 degrees, the wind blowing and everything else. And fun part is you didn't use a tractor a lot, so the battery, if there was one even in it, sometimes you had to put a battery in it. If there was, you had to almost certainly had to jump it, so you had to climb up there, jump the tractor, and it was kind of a cantankerous tractor. If you know the John Deeres from that vintage, they're a 2-cycle engine, and they kind of have a very distinctive pop when you drive it, and they go pop, 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 pop. And I remember you'd go to start it, and it would turn over, just barely turn over, but there was kind of a sound you knew that was probably going to start or probably not going to start. And anyway, climb up there, jump the tractor, get it running, and then, get down and unhook the jumper cables and do all that, and then get back up and drive the tractor. It had a dual loader, actually a pretty good loader. Tom had gotten a really good deal on it. It had been burned in a fire someplace, and so it was all burned off. There wasn't any orange left on it that was the color it had originally been. But it was a really good loader. And one of the things that I learned was during the winter, if you can, you put the loader up all the way when you're done at the end of the day so that it's all the way up. And the reason for that is the hydraulic fluid is very stiff and thick when it's cold. And the hydraulic pump has a problem pumping it until things get warmed up. If you have the loader up all the way, it's much easier when you let it go down after you get the tractor started, that it will kind of warm and go through the fluid, will go through the pump and warm it up. As you get going, the fluid actually gets quite warm. I remember one time when they had done some rerouting of the hydraulic lines and stuff, and they had laid them across the plate where your feet sat. And for me, that was the best in the world, because I, of course, didn't stand up while I was running the tractor like my brother and Tom sometimes did. I would always sit down, and the hydraulic lines would keep your feet warm, actually almost to the point of hot. And other things I learned was when you're scooping snow, if you put tilted the blade back, or the bucket back a little bit past 90 degrees, so it was tipped back all the way and a little bit past that, pretty much as far as back as it would go, when you scoop the snow, it actually did a much better job than having the blade out or whatever, which seems to be a bit counterintuitive, but actually I learned that that was probably the best way to do it. Also, that particular loader had down pressure too. So a lot of times when you'd get it going down the driveway, and then you'd lift it up and actually have the front wheels off the ground, you couldn't really steer. Now normally with a tractor, each wheel has an back wheel has an individual brake on it. Unfortunately, on the John Deere, they were pretty tight and pretty stuck, and they didn't work very well. So that didn't work very well. So you had to kind of get it going, and then hope it stayed as straight as it could be. And if you had to, maybe drop down the front and start again to get it going and stuff like that. But it was really interesting. And again, I look back and think about it. How in the world did I manage to do all of that? But yet I did.